up in front. Sure they are.
Sorry.
All right. I call this meeting of Macon County Board of Commissioners to order, and I'd like to welcome each of you. Glad you chose to come this way this evening. We don't have an extremely long agenda. One reason is we've met twice a week for about a month now, so we're taking care of a lot of items, but we do have some important things on the agenda, including our public hearing on the budget. But to get started, we always allow each commissioner to make any kind of announcements that they need to make. So, Commissioner Higgins, do you have anything you share with the group tonight?
Thank you all for coming.
Good turnout there. Okay. That's right.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming too. I guess some of them heard about Bill Evans passing away. He was one who worked a lot down here on this end of the mountain project. He worked on several other things, including being involved with the Cherokee Indians on some of the reservation ideas. And he also was somebody who kept Bill that he'd hang around down at the motel. He was retired and hauled a lot of hikers back and forth up and down the mountain, bring a lot of tourists from our town. So, yeah, we knew Bill. He passed away yesterday.
Also, Mr. Chairman, we remember the Nat Henry family. Nat's mother who passed away this morning. Everybody was on the paper this morning. Nat Henry. So remember that family.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, also keep in mind our prayers and also our recreation director, Stephen, passed away yesterday. So I don't know the arrangements. I'll make sure that involved still. So yeah, the details on the other thing. So set that discussion.
Thank you. On a much lighter note, my son attends University of North Carolina Chapel Hill in dental school, so we're contributing to their welfare down there, and I'm happy to say they won the ball game today against South Carolina. So we face North Carolina State Sunday, I think, and probably a little serious. So, with that said, let's stand and we're going to observe a moment of silence. After that, we'll ask Commissioner Hayden if he would lead us in the pledge. Let's do a moment of silence.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated. Mr. Attorney, I think according to state law, we are to have a public hearing regarding our budget. And just to let you know what that is, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a hearing. It's for us to listen to what you have to say. And if we have questions or clarification about what you mean, we might do that. But mostly, we're going to be ears rather than mouths at this hearing. So at this time, at 6:07 p.m., I will call the hearing to order for state statute, and we're going to recognize several people that have signed up. I think we have 6. First one is Mr. Kenneth McCaskill. And Kenneth is here, I believe, if I read this correctly, you want to speak in regards to the Birmingham Fire Department. Is that correct?
Yes. Just to clarify a couple of things, I spoke with Mr. Tate earlier. I don't think what I told you all at the last meeting was exactly what was attributed to me in the newspaper, but I would like to say that our issues are public safety and response time. Commissioners have asked us in the past if we're trying to reduce our rating, and yes, we'll do that, but it will take reporting, it will take a better response time, it will take some equipment. We've been very conservative in asking for funds in this budget, and we do appreciate and need your support, and we thank you for it. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Next, we have Michael Gaines, and I believe he was going to speak in regards to the auto department.
And also, I'd like to speak to the Sheriff's Department as well.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners, thank you for your time. I just wanted to say I'm in support of the Alto Fire Department increase. I believe it's having an extra man to be beneficial to us. They already are at a low ISO rating, so we're already saving on our insurance. So with that said, I'm in support of that. As far as the sheriff's department, they wanted to add 2 resource officers. I'm in support of that too. I don't have kids involved or anything like that, but I don't know if y'all realize that it's a long-term investment in our children, and I think a resource officer would be beneficial to add 2 more to the schools. That's all I got to say.
Very well said. Thank you, Mr. Gamble. Next, we have Mr. Chris Baldwin, who is, in about 2 weeks, is going to be the superintendent of Macon County Schools.
Thank you. As a current Macon County school principal, and as Mr. Corbin said, the superintendent to be in July, I'd like to thank the county commission for the proposed increase in spending and funding for Macon County school system. This board is to be commended for meeting their responsibilities to the school system over the past several difficult economic years. And in addition to that, they have prevented our students from falling behind due to shortcomings in the state budget and funding. And as superintendent, I pledge the Macon County school system will continue its efforts of the past year to be a good steward of the tax dollars. Thank you.
Thank you very much. James Bryan, and James, I think, wants to speak about the SROs. Is that correct? Welcome.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, my name is James Bryan. I'm the principal at Nantahala School. Just wanted to speak with you in a minute about obtaining an SRO officer at Nantahala School. As many of you know, Nantahala School is very isolated. The response time for law enforcement to arrive from Franklin, if there were an emergency similar to Sandy Hook, would be anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes. And a lot can happen in that span of time. Based on the Sandy Hook fatalities, there were 26 dead in 8 minutes. Nantahala School could potentially lose much more in that span of time. The longer wait for police response extends the period of vulnerability. The smaller size of our school compresses both the time and the distance. The advantage of a lockdown quickly evaporates, tipping the advantage to an armed intruder. Nantahala, the entire physical plant, can be explored in less than 5 minutes. An armed intruder can check the doors of the office and the classrooms. They were locked, which they are, and barricaded, could easily move outside to enter classrooms through windows and proceed around the perimeter of the school. So I ask you to please consider allowing Nantahala School to have a full-time resource officer, thus allowing the students and the adults a reasonable chance of survival should a situation occur like in Sandy Hook. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Bryan. Very good. And last on the list, but not least, Karen Wallace. And I believe she's going to speak in regards to the library.
I want to thank you for considering our request for increased funding for the Macon County Public Library. We have 3 facilities in Franklin, in Highlands, and Nantahala. We serve everyone from the time they're born, or maybe even before they're born, in meeting their literacy needs, and throughout their lives. We provide lifelong learning for information, education, and recreational needs for the citizens of Macon County. Since we don't have a lot of people here today at the public hearing, we've been collecting some signatures from taxpayers here in Macon County, and we have about 1,500 signatures from people who have indicated their support and use of tax dollars for public library funding. So we hope that you will consider the requests of those people to increase the funding for the library. We have requested an increase primarily to help fund increases for our employees who have not had increases for over 6 years. We are not county employees. We're employees of the Fontana Regional Library. And we certainly appreciate the funding that Macon County has provided for us to meet the needs of the citizens in Macon County, but want to be sure that you're aware that we don't get increases from the state when those employees get increases, and we don't get increases when the county gives increases directly to their employees. So we are making the request particularly to increase salaries for our employees at the library. Be happy to answer any questions that you might have, but appreciate the support that you've given us and hope that you'll consider our increase favorably.
John, thank you, yes, commissioners to know approximately how many folks come through the doors at the library.
We see about 500,000 people a year.
How many employees you got?
We have a total of 30 employees in our 3 libraries. Those are not all full-time employees. Many of them are part-time.
Okay, and how are they paid?
They are paid through Fontana Regional Library, which is a public authority formed by the state of North Carolina. And
Receive the funds to North Carolina?
we receive funding from Jackson, Macon, and Swain counties, and also the state of North Carolina. But we are a separate local government as a public authority, as Fontana Regional Library.
Chairman, I might want to add, I know Karen was modest about this, but you would think that there'd be a lot of support from the state. In years gone by, the state used to support the library system much better than it does now. And she gave me a figure the other day, I got to share this with her because she's here. We don't always see the entire Montana Regional Library budget covers 3 counties. Karen shared with me that this year, the state appropriation for local resources for libraries for our 3 counties is approximately $380,000 for all 3 counties. So they don't put a lot into it. Just if we work in this county on the library, there's no way you can operate on state revenue.
Absolutely. The bulk of our support does come from local government and in all 3 counties. The state budget, we're still waiting to hear what our budget is, as is everyone else. The governor's budget did propose a 5% increase. The House had more than a 5% increase in their budget proposal. The Senate held us at the same level that we've been receiving for the past 6 years or so. We're experiencing an increased demand in our services as more people experience economic challenges. They turn to an efficient and effective means of providing information resources through the public library. So we're there helping people apply for jobs, helping with pre-literacy skills, a little bit of everything that people might want to know.
Terry, just to be clear, are you speaking in support of what the manager has in the budget, or are you?
She's asking for a little bit more.
You're right. The recommended amount was about a $30,000 increase, and I've worked with both Ronnie Beal and Jack Horton to hopefully increase that appropriation just a little bit more. It would make a big difference to us. So we certainly appreciate your consideration of that. Thank you very much.
How much money is
And operating expenses, $980,000.
What was Jackson County? I'm sorry. How this one says 950 last year.
That's all good.
Thank you.
Year win right now, that was 950, proposed budget was 980.
What does Jackson County do, Jack?
I don't know that, I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I don't think they fund theirs quite to the level we fund ours over there.
Do you have those numbers, Karen?
I do. Right now, they're giving about $890,000 for this year. Swain County is funding at $192,000. Much smaller county.
How many libraries is Jackson?
Jackson has 2 libraries, Swain County has 1,
And we got 3.
and we have 3.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Karen. Okay, I guess that's, yeah, Chester, anything else you need to do here?
At this point, you're concluded, you can. Another speaker.
Member of the school board has to speak.
We have, Ms. Evans is here.
Sorry, I'm late.
Our school board member. Well, glad you're here, certainly.
Well, actually, I just wanted to come in support of Mr. Bryan and the fact that we need a full-time SRO officer at Macon. Mr. Bryan pretty much said exactly what I was going to say. Ever since Sandy Hook, I've thought about the response time and how many died and how many would die if we had to wait for Franklin to respond. And that's not that they wouldn't come; it's that they can't get there fast. You ever drove that mountain, you know what that's like. And, I know Nantahala is a unique situation that not many counties have. And, but it's very near and dear to my heart. And I have 2 grandchildren that go to school at Nantahala, and I cannot imagine the feeling that I would have to know that there was someone like that killer that was losing that soul. Because I would really, from my heart, feel like they wouldn't have a chance. And, I know funds are tight, but we really need this. We really need an SRO officer full-time over there. You think Nantahala, well, there's not a lot goes on over there, but I just want to remind you that's where Eric Rudolph was for quite a while. He's a pretty famous criminal and killer. So, Nantahala, it could happen. It could happen there. And those children need protection. And teachers as well. So I would like for you just again to consider, trying to find the means to place an officer over there and help Mr. Holland out with that. And I appreciate you for listening to me and my time for your time.
Thank you, Les, very much. Might communicate. I saw Mr. Les Slater. Les, did you want to speak to the board? No. I can hear you.
He said no.
Okay. All right.
Just needs a motion to close.
We need a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion second to close the public hearing on the budget. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. Chester, we declare the hearing closed.
Proceed with the recommendation.
We declare the hearing closed. Thank you very much for your input. Gentlemen, maybe just a minute of discussion here. I think to vote on the budget, have a public hearing and vote on the budget in the same meeting is a little irresponsible, but I think we need to hear and think about what we heard, about what we think. So we need to discuss the budget. If you want to discuss it more, we can do that tonight, or we could possibly call another meeting for, say, Thursday night and do that. Or we can go through the rest of this budget. I guess what I'm saying was the point of adjustments and approval of the agenda. If you guys want to add that, it would be under old business. We could have some general discussion. I think we have some, I've made notes of some things that have been requested that we can take a look at that would vary from the county manager's proposed budget. The schools, the sheriff's department, the medical clinic, the library. And I think we need to give them some direction. Do we want to add some of those? And I will point out, our county manager has, and fire departments, we discussed the fire departments. But we gave the county manager direction back in January to propose a budget that called for no tax increase. He has to keep the tax rate flat, and he's done that. So within that, if there's things that we want to change about that or discuss, we need to do that either tonight or a later meeting. And I think we need to call another meeting to vote on. That's my suggestion.
So Thursday night at 6.
Or we can discuss something tonight, or we can just do the rest of the agenda. We'll come back Thursday night. I think we can decide.
Let's do the agenda Thursday night, and next Tuesday schedule meeting.
No, next Tuesday will be just a continuation of this meeting. We've got several issues that we need to be attending to, and need to be in Raleigh. We Wednesday, so we have it on Tuesday, so is it possible that we have a continuation meeting of this meeting, or the Thursday meeting on Monday instead of Tuesday?
That's fine. Monday.
So we'll be Thursday at 6 o'clock,
And then Monday.
Monday at 6 o'clock.
If that's okay. Discuss that.
So that's the 17th. 6 o'clock, Michelle.
Thursday, would it be possible for us to have that discussion at 7?
7 better.
Well,
7 better.
And I'll tell you why, we've got an interim pastor that we're interviewing for our church, and that's going to be about 6 o'clock, and I really need to do that.
Let's go for the 7. That gives them, we'll have an issue with that.
Thursday at 7 and Monday at 7.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do that.
So we need to meet one day at a time.
Yeah, we have to have time to put together a
And just to be clear, I think what we need to do Thursday is discuss any changes to his budget and at least get a consensus if we're going to make that change. And if we do, then they can come back and then we can vote on Monday, vote on everything. So
That give you time.
everybody okay with that plan? It makes it nice
What
week.
the board actually does is adopt a budget ordinance. So it takes more a little bit of time to make the changes to the budget ordinance that you would consider for approval.
All right, so that's good. We'll just truck on tonight. We have under reports and.
Chairman, did have a public comment here tonight?
We did, but no one signed up. Actually, I had James Bryan's name, but I think he spoke during the hearing, so no one signed up for the public comments. Sorry. And we really have the changes to the agenda.
We do have some budget amendments.
Budget amendments that we've got in front of us. We'll add that.
That will be budget amendments 196 through 200, which were stapled together.
We'll add that, 11B.
And I also have two ordinances.
Yeah.
There's a grant project ordinance for urgent repair monies, and then capital project ordinance for the highway service stations.
You want to do that under the consent agenda, is everybody up there, or we'll just do those separately?
If you want to just add them under new business, that'd be
Okay, we'll just add them in there. What would you, let's make that 11B. And what did you call the first one?
grant project ordinance for the urgent repair grant.
And the other one?
Capital project ordinance for Highland School renovations. I guess that's what old business, so that's fine.
We'll just do it under new business. And that is just to put into an ordinance what we've already approved. Okay, anything else to add to the agenda?
I'd like to add a bit, let's discuss a little bit, about the flood. I know at state level right now, they're talking about a change in the standard of the state level.
Okay, let's put that, that'd be old business that we discussed before. So let's make that 9C, floodplain discussion. Okay, anything else to add or delete?
Chairman, I don't know if you had a chance to see the email, Southwestern Community College asked if any of us.
I did, and we do need to add that Southwestern, we have an appointment to the Southwestern Community College Board. Let's make that 12C. And I trust everybody got the email on the recommendation for that.
What's the recommendation for appointment, actual appointment for Macon, Jackson County Board?
Okay, anything else?
We had to fill one on,
We do, but that's actually the one, if you remember, I asked you guys if we could post on that, the planning board is working on some current projects, and the seat that's up is the chairman, and so it's my recommendation to delay that July meeting, give them a get through that. I think that would be a recommendation of planning board and planning board.
We need to change the name of the thing, 7 o'clock, just correct.
I think we do. That is correct. Item 14 says that we'll recess until Thursday, June 13th if necessary. I think we decided it is. And we'll make that 7 p.m. for the record. Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Anything else to be changed or added, please, for the, hearing nothing, motion to be held.
So moved, Chairman.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion regarding the agenda? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. Item number 8, we have Cassie Ledford. Cassie, good to see you. She is here to speak on a ban on synthetically drugged products, and we appreciate you being here.
Let me introduce you to Cassie Ledford, folks, if you don't know Cassie. We have some good news to go along with Cassie's appearance tonight. Cassie was going to tell you a story about these items that we've talked about in front of this board before. She'll be joined by the sheriff. We're really proud of this young lady for a number of reasons. Cassie can tell you that story. But Cassie, welcome to this board. Thank you for the work you want to say to this board and for the work you put in to make what we hope has been passed in the General Assembly reality. So thank you, Cassie. And at the end of Cassie's presentation, she also has some things that I'd like you to introduce Cassie whenever you get the chance. And at the end, Sherman and I have a presentation. So, you go ahead, Cassie.
Adrian Martinez and Beth Ellis will also be speaking with me. And we would like to thank you guys for your support during our whole process of getting this banned. And we are so glad it has been. And
Get one, man. Tell them what we do.
it's the synthetic marijuana. And it's horrible. It's just mainly chemicals, and it's taken lives. It's led people off of their path, and people go really downhill on it very fast. So now that our bill has been passed, we're hoping to kind of just spread the message to everybody, anybody who will listen, that something needs to be done about it.
We really want to thank each and every one of you commissioners for supporting the legislation on this, because this has been a really big epidemic, you could call it, as to our county and surrounding counties all in North Carolina. And we really appreciate your support and, to help get this bill passed for this stuff to be done away with in North Carolina.
We chose to help people like this. It goes all the way back to when I was on the Health and Human Services Committee that I was first contacted. That's when the conversation started. That's been over 2 years. So, like everything else.
I want to say thank you to you all. My name is Elizabeth Ellis. I had a son who had a problem with it. They're very good friends of his. So these young people can band together and do wonderful things. And we want to thank you all for helping get rid of eliminating synthetic marijuana in Macon County. Hopefully the other counties will follow suit. It's a horrible thing to watch somebody go through. And I'm glad it's getting out of here. Our kids have a lot of potential. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
And also, thank you guys for funding the law enforcement to be able to put this into effect and do something about people who do have this product.
And the sheriff would like to add a few things, Cassie. The sheriff, you'll step up.
Basically, I don't want to steal their thunder. I'm extremely proud of these young people. Basically, I got a phone call and was asked the question, when are you going to do something about this legal stuff? Well, I was looking forward to meeting with them to let them know why I'm not able to do anything about this legal stuff, because it was legal, which is the key word. And I encouraged them to get in contact with senators and members of their legislature. And we actually made contact that evening with one of our senators, Senator Jim Davis Franklin, and he agreed to meet with them. So he met with them at the sheriff's office, a large group of them, in fact, and got his ears full, and was in the process, or had introduced legislation as well. And it wasn't his bill that got passed, but the fact that you had several senators that were trying to get legislation, I'm sure Senator Davis jumped on board with these other senators to vote for it. Same thing happened with Bob Parker with the baby bill.
When did you guys meet with Senator Davis?
It was
March.
6 weeks ago.
It was in March.
It was before we went, because we went down through the Commissioner Hayden, myself, and Commissioner Bill, went down and met with our legislators in Raleigh. And one of the reasons we do that is to take the message from people here to them. And that was one of the things we talked to them about. And apparently we were successful because they passed that.
Last week they passed it, and it's just waiting for the governor to sign. We're going to take
It's been passed by the House and the Senate.
House, and it's ready. It's been sent to the governor to sign
And
it.
I think
He's going to sign it.
I think this also goes beyond just that, it covers the bath salts, it covers the other things that come on the market. Beyond our time.
And I think what's important to know too, and I'm sure that the media will do stories on it eventually, but the fact that it's also going to be illegal for people to possess. And that wasn't illegal for us to, we couldn't do anything about it. And I can't tell you the number of parents that I've sat down with, and some parents of well-connected members of our community who have had children who have been hooked on this stuff. And it's extremely dangerous, and we couldn't do anything. As a sheriff, that's very frustrating. But I would like to also say, as you, I'm extremely proud of these young people because they took a lot of heat for taking the stand. There's several more members of this group. This is the core group. There's several more members that will tell you stories of their usage of this drug. And so it took a lot of guts, and so you have those people that are selling this junk and making money and benefiting that are giving them a hard time. They've stood their course, and I've asked them to remain professional. I've read their post on Facebook, and they have been. They've been very professional, doing the right thing, and it costs people to listen. As a sheriff, I just want you all to know I'm extremely proud of you guys. And be prepared. You will see more about these kids. They plan to do protests, legal protests, and they're gonna.
Any other things besides that?
They're wanting to see action done to these businesses that are able to sell this paraphernalia. A lot of people don't understand what paraphernalia is. I can sell you a crack pipe or a bong to smoke dope out of today, totally illegal. When my officer pulls you over on the side of the road, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. But the moment you touch that drug and you have residue on those crack pipes and stuff, then it becomes paraphernalia. Well, people are selling this in our community, and it's frustrating sometimes that enough groups don't take a stand against this. And that's why I'm so proud of them. Why us adults did nothing, the young people did. And I'm extremely proud of that, and they should be commended. And I look forward to making sure they're safe at the protest.
Sheriff, your liaison from our board is Commissioner Bill. And if it'd be okay, he and I would like to present a little gift to Cassidy.
Anything you want to add, Cassidy, before?
Sheriff, tell us a little bit about this stuff right here. I guess I'm a little bit backwards. Is this something sold over the counter?
Absolutely. In fact, at meetings, I would encourage you all to visit these places, and you will leave there shocked. I wouldn't go alone because you'll probably make the newspaper of going in there and buying stuff. I might take a couple of the listeners and visit these places. I think you would be shocked. I'll meet with you after this meeting. I don't want to publicize for them, but I pass it every day. And what will shock you the most is before school and after school.
Mr. Hagan, I'll be happy to give you all the information.
I appreciate it. I'll tell you, I guess I've raised old school, this stuff all new to me.
Watch the kids pile in there before school.
Water's set up, situated.
It's not unlike meth. It's not a drug in and of itself. It's created from other things.
Chemicals sprayed.
And all this is detailed in the copy of the bill that was passed and ratified. It has been signed by Daniel J. Park, President of the Senate, and Tom Tillis, Speaker of the House of Representatives. All it likes is a governor's signature, and I'm sure it's going to be signed. So This is a copy for you, and a copy for y'all to keep, and a copy of the ratified bill that y'all worked so hard on. You can see that it's House Bill 813. It's a ratified bill, which means it's been passed from both houses. It's now in the governor's possession for him to sign. It says an act to make the manufacture, possession, sale, use, and delivery of all synthetic cannabis unlawful. So that covers, that gets most everything. And on behalf of the chairman and all the rest of the board members and the people of this community, this is just a small token of our appreciation. This is a symbol of the Macon County flag. You ever seen the Macon County flag? So this is it. It just says special thanks. And this is just something for y'all to keep, to show our appreciation for the dedication of the young people. We thank you more than you ever know. Because you all the ones can make the changes look like there is some of us do. So thank you so much.
Esty comes from a good family. What's your mother's maiden name?
Corbin.
Okay, just for the record. No direct relation.
Kids, we thank y'all.
What's your last name?
We thank you for having us.
What's your last name?
Paul. Okay.
I'm one of them.
Leave you alone. All right, thank you, you guys very much for being here. Under old business, we received a copy, Chester, of the changes proposed, mapped by the planning board, and I think what we agreed to do was take a look at that and decide if we wanted to have, if we make changes to the ordinance, then we have to have a public hearing. So we need to decide that tonight. If we can do that, we can schedule that. We have to get appropriate.
They're going to need to publish twice, and then we're going to do it third day.
So Matt, any comments?
We don't have any comments. The only thing we'd like to, we're here tonight, that's to discuss any questions or concerns you have.
And we recognize Jim Goodman, he was here, he's one member of our planning board, and I think Mr. Copeland said you guys did a good job reviewing that, and I think you've got some unnecessary provisions out of it. I'm personally very pleased with it. I think it makes it easier for our developers, and at the same time protects our natural resources, et cetera. So
Well, really, all we did was just took Matt's problems that he's seen on the ground and tried to fix them.
Publicly, I'll say is why we're reviewing our ordinances right now. We're not trying to say they're bad or good. They've not been reviewed in a while. We thought some of them were maybe a little restrictive to citizens. We decided to review them, and this is the first one that's come back.
We always need to talk to the planning directors and people working on the ground and find out what the problems is and see if we can help them fix it.
So thanks for your work.
Yeah, they did a great job of that. Mr. Goodman and the rest of the board worked really well. Essential great on this.
And let me say, Commissioner Tate.
I support it, because they did a really great job. They did place how they handled themselves and
Commissioner Tate, for the record, is our liaison to that board. He's done a really good job of communicating from this board to their board, and I think made a lot of improvements in the operation of the board, and so on and so forth. So, Jimmy, I'd like to publicly thank you for that. Would it be your recommendation that we advertise for a public hearing and proceed with it? We have a consensus board, is that?
Need a motion?
I think we would, Mr. Attorney, or do we just need, or do I just need to declare consensus to the board to have a hearing?
I think it's fine. You're not going to take any action. That's correct. Ordinance until such time we just have a.
Well, I will.
Roll is also.
Yes, sir. Well, yeah, would you like to add anything to that, Mr. Attorney? You were for the proposed changes?
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, I would declare that we do have a consensus of the board. The majority of the board does wish to proceed with those changes. So to make those changes, we'll have to have a public hearing. And And I will declare that we'll have that public hearing on July the 9th. Is our next regular board meeting in Chester. That gives you enough time to properly advertise that hearing and allow folks to speak to it. So
We appreciate that notice, and I'll work with Matt to get a final revised order for this place. Ready to go.
that sounds good.
And I'd like to express my appreciation to Matt and all, Jimmy and Derek and everybody that worked on this kind of work. That's one thing we passed these ordinances, when I was here when they passed them, so not be afraid to come back and fix the stuff that's wrong. And there were some things like big things stuck out. I remember we put the 7-day in there at that time. We were told, I think that was the max we could put in. But come find out, we could. I know she moved that to 20 days. I think that's great.
And the width of the road to, I think, 20 feet to 16 feet, is that right?
There was some language in it that changed the way it's written now, basically required the fire marshal to have it 20 feet. We're trying to shoot for 16 feet of options. If we can't achieve those options, then we'll go back to 20 feet. That gives Jimmy a little.
You seem like common sense changes to me.
That's what we were trying to do.
If you agree with that, the common sense stuff,
And I would like to say for our planning board, you know, they do take a lot of heat. It's a thankless job all day. And we've got some that want to go all the way one way, and some that want to go all the way the other way. At the end of the day, they'll all sit down and listen to everybody and make a list, and that's very important.
Okay, we will have that hearing. And Jim, let me, maybe while you're here, if you guys object, you've got item B and then item C. And item C, Mr. Haven asked to discuss floodplain. Could we go ahead and do that now while we've got Matt here? Is that okay to move that up for us? So, okay, if you want to throw out some comments or?
Yeah, first of all, guys, I appreciate all of you saying, I see that he was, I put some of them over the street.
We remember.
There's a reason it did. I think it's all doing a good job. One of the things I want to bring up, I got this floodplain. I know that you do what you see fit to do at the time. And I know at this time, there's been a lot of speculation on bringing dirt from other property and building in. They're right now looking at state standards. Was it Senate Bill 512? 612. And so, the thing about it is, whether that passes or whether it don't, I feel like that our standards should not be higher than states. I think that if I own a piece of land a mile long, there'd be one piece of land, if I went all the way to the back of that property, I could bring all the dirt I could up here and fill that, that'd be legal. But the way this is set up, is right across the road out there, and it's gonna give me some dirt. And I start to bring it over there, just because on 2 pieces of property, as my understanding, that's against the regulations. And what I feel like is that we should pass this ourselves, if the board get it, not to exceed state standards on things like this. And I feel like this is being fair to the people out there, that's being really well taken. So I'm open to discussion, anybody else, or anything else to say about it?
I think that's currently where the planning board's at with both sides of that argument. And with Senate Bill 612 being where it has, and my personal opinion, it has a lot of steam behind it. I think it would be probably a safer move to see where that bill plays out and then come back and look at the rest of the thing.
We'll make changes after that. I would agree with that. And I can't disagree with you. And say I do think this bill is being discussed now, and they plan to be gone by July 1st. So if they're going to do something, it's going to be in the next 3 weeks. So maybe I would prefer to you, your recommendation about what.
Well, I was going to add under reports and presentations to discuss this, but Mr. Hagan brought it up. Something waiting to hear his comments on. I'm in agreement. with Matt on this, and I'd like to take that to the board with y'all's consensus and get that resolved. So we can just put that on hold until the July meeting. The planning board has to sign it. Just to say, SB 612 on this item.
On this here, it was turned down when we brought up discussion. I mean, we didn't vote on it the last time it was brought up, right?
Because of this reason.
That's correct. One of the reasons we didn't have it voted on was because when you Senate 12 had already passed the Senate first reading of the House. Now it's in second reading.
Third reading.
It's passed the second reading too. The other issue we had is our planning board members wanted to make sure that every member was involved and had a vote. And at that last meeting, we barely made a quorum. So the primary reason was because of the status of 6-4.
Okay.
One way they will take action on it. If the Senate bill doesn't pass, then you guys will take a vote on what you recommend back to us.
I think that'd be appropriate.
Okay, by our next week in July.
We should know something about it.
If we know what the status of Senate Bill 612 is.
They're supposed to be gone by July 1st, so I guess they should know something.
All right, if we look at the whole thing as a whole, that's not going to be just this floodplain ordinance, it's going to be any ordinance. We would not be able to go above the standards of the state. Just
Environmental ordinance. Basically, it's going to impact right now the erosion control ordinance, flood ordinance, and then another bill that could impact that communication ordinance.
That is.
But that's your environmental ordinance.
Wouldn't touch this. I wouldn't touch the sign ordinance.
Right.
I guess what I heard Commissioner Tate recommend was that we ask, again, we started the methodical process going through these ordinances, and he's asking for them, for us to give them the authority to go ahead, for him to take them, to go ahead with the sign ordinance, discussion on that.
Let's put this in the back class.
It is, what I thought clarified, that we're going to come to the end of the line on this deal about building property by the end of next month. If not, I'd like to make a motion today that we do.
We don't have a recommendation back to the
But they didn't make it.
well, they have to, if they're going to.
By next month.
We were not required to be here by next month.
I'm asking our board here.
We didn't put a time frame on it, we asked them to do it.
Okay, now what I'm getting at is right now, what we're waiting on is the Senate. Okay, so let's say the Senate don't. So what are we gonna do?
It's already passed.
I think what we're saying is, let's let the legislature make their decision, because there's no reason for us to jump in and pass the change to an ordinance if the state is gonna do something that's gonna mandate down the road anyway. So we're talking about within a 3-week period of time.
Let's assume that we do pass it and do need changes to it, and the state, the House does change it, and it's something completely different, and we've got to go back and change it again. I think it's safe.
I don't think that if we set our standards here, the one that they are nothing higher than what the state does, we'd be doing anything wrong.
We just don't know what that standard is yet. We don't know.
Well, when they pass it,
Right.
if we have got, what I'm saying is if our standards are no higher than what states, and wherever they sit, that's where it is.
And that would be wrong.
I think what we're agreeing about, I think what he's saying, and I would agree with that, they've not made a recommendation back to us yet, because I think they were waiting to see, A, what the state was going to do, which likely they're going to pass that. It appears that. And if it does, then it'd be a good discussion with the planning board and with us. And B, you didn't have all your people there
Last month.
We
barely made it.
So I would think they would have a recommendation. If the state takes no action, let's assume the state takes no action on it, then that is on their agenda. And we would ask that they come back to us.
Then we would go back to the signed orders, have the flood orders.
Is that what you're looking for? depends on what the legislature does. I talked to Roger West and talked to Jim Davis, talked to Speaker, or talked to Senator Adopt, this one. And they also expect it to be done July 1.
Well, I'm doing all
You're baby, Bobby.
We've got some people up here doing on the job right now, there's about the parking lot of the church. And there's nothing the state says is wrong about that. It's a local ordinance holding that, that's what we're holding that up.
I think we're all agreeing. That's why we're passing the plan.
Sure.
We have a consensus that we ask them to go ahead with the sign ordinance. If the state doesn't take action that would influence the floodplain ordinance, they would ask them to return that.
I consider we liaison, whatever liaison, I support the liaison, like our liaison to every department. That's what they're taking, and the plan I recommend,
And if not, we'll come back and make that suggestion.
All right.
Thank you,
Sounds good.
gentlemen.
Thanks, sir. That was item C. Item B is consideration of exchange of real estate and property acquisition in Island. We discussed this at our May meeting.
And I circulated a proposed resolution in connection with that exchange. In addition, at county manager's request, I had prepared a proposed or a draft agreement to purchase and sale of the other parcel in question. I have that draft here. I have put by the county manager, essentially in accordance with the terms as presented to me by Commissioner Tate. And I would say there are a handful of blanks in the draft agreement that I've prepared. And if the commissioners are inclined to go forward with this exchange as well as this purchase, I would recommend the agreement be approved, as well as the resolution authorizing exchange of real property, with the understanding that the agreement has blanks we put in that need to be completed by the chairman and the county manager.
So did you, one thing we discussed was that you said we would be required to advertise that exchange.
And that has been done.
You're verifying that
Has been done, yes.
and we also talked about a survey on the lot.
That has been completed as well. And I have a copy of that.
40 in here.
It actually came in at 1.76 acres.
What do we think it was? Slightly smaller.
1.5 is what the appraisal was.
It was contemplated for 1.5, and the appraisal really, I think, was done to some degree based upon acreage.
So it's about a quarter of an acre larger than that property.
Roughly, yeah.
Roughly.
I think there was some concern that the appraisal on that parcel came in slightly lower than the asking price. But I think when you adjust for acreage,
It isn't just the price of the acreage.
no, but
We're actually buying it less than the appraisal. Hopefully.
on a per acre basis.
What is that figure?
The
What's that final figure?
proposed purchase price, 145.
Same thing.
And what was the size of the property came in at 1.7?
1.76 acres.
1.76.
Yeah, Commissioner Tate had spoken with, I believe it was Ms. Fisher, about changing the lot line ever so slightly. And if you can see with reference to this plat, there's a little dotted line on the inside of this parcel right here, and then a heavy dark line right here. This was the original lot line here, and the dark line was the adjusted line. I think that's where the additional acreage comes in.
And the line is now straight to one we had.
Correct.
And just to clarify, on the swap, the proposed swap, we own 1.74, we'd be trading for 1.78. So
And in
we're
fact,
roughly the same size.
in fact, the way the appraisals came in, the parcel is swapped for actually appraised slightly higher than the parcel that we counted, $2,000.
Chester, if we do this, this ensures that, I just want to make sure that the swap doesn't happen once the property is purchased.
That is basically what we have is a first resolution that would authorize the exchange and it would declare the parcel to be exchanged as surplus. It would authorize and direct that be completed. However, the agreement to purchase and sell is, the way I have prepared it, makes it specifically conditioned upon the closing of the exchange happening. Vice versa, it makes the closing of the exchange conditioned upon this agreement. In other words, it contemplates the simultaneous closing.
Or no, that, yeah.
Exactly. As was done in connection with the parcel, this contract calls for an inspection period. Actually, it's referred to as an examination period. And it would allow for the county to do due diligence on both of the parcels. And if you decide that you don't want one or the other or both, you can back out. If you decide you don't want one, you are by necessity right now. But you would need to give notice to both before the time period. That's one of the variables that we have not.
Let's make the point that was Commissioner Tech's recommendation was to making the swap very advantageous to the county. That's advantageous to us, so we want that. If we're going to buy the other property, we want to make sure that we feel like we're coming out ahead of the game with that.
The way I've structured the agreement is you'll close on both or you'll close on neither.
So I think that was his recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, I know that past discussions about this, some of you gentlemen are in favor of it, some of you gentlemen. I've been working on it since I became a commissioner. I think that was the very first phone call to the commission to start with this. So, excuse me, undue pleasure that you finally hopefully see this through. So I'd make a motion to proceed with the resolution authorizing the exchange and purchase of the property. This is actually part of it.
Let me be clear what the motion is. His motion is to approve the resolution for the exchange and, since these are tied together, and the agreement to purchase and sell.
I think it would be appropriate to join those two. The agreement for purchase and sale is this document with this plat attached, as well as and having
with the funds that coming from this.
If I may add or recommend adding to that motion, authorizing the chair as well as county manager to work with the sellers to fill in appropriate days for the examination period, closing, as well as addresses for the sellers, just general tax.
Just for clarification on the motion, this motion would make this a part of the 2012-2013 budget. Or would that be?
It won't close until after.
So we're
go in.
It'd be part of the 2014-15 budget. I mean, 13, sorry, I lost you. So this will make that part of the budget. Do we have a second to the motion.
Mr. Chairman, this is another item that we worked on for years before Mr. Tate came on the board, trying to get this done. So he's been able to do something that a lot of others tried to do. So this will enhance the ability of Sacred Park for these kids to enjoy that park. For many years we worked hand in hand to get them the direct soccer field at the high school. And so soccer is it now. This gives that Sacred Park a leg up to have something in the future. So I'm proud to second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by raising your right hand. Opposed? That motion passes 3-2.
Can I ask a question? What is the examination period? How long would it be, and what would you be looking for during that time period?
I believe it would be 30 days.
That is one of the items that is left open to be filled by the chairman and gentleman to determine what length of time needs to be left open.
But what would you be doing in that time period specifically?
You make sure that the property would do the things that the reason for purchasing it, it would be used for the intended purpose, i.e. a soccer field. There wouldn't be any kind of ordinances or state regulations that keep using it.
Is there any other restrictions and
Conditions.
But to make sure it can be used for the intended purpose. Okay. Next item, we have a request to consider transferring a 1983 Ford ambulance to Southwest Community College Public Safety Training Center. And I think you have a resolution.
Mr. Chairman, you can tell us a little information about this. We may need to ask you to on this until we check it out. It's my understanding that this ambulance originally belonged to the Thomas Fire Rescue Corps, and they transferred it to it's 1983, so it's not a new necessity. And it's been surplus, basically, by the county, which is not useful for what we need it for. But I understand that it's possible that when that was transferred to the county, there may have been a provision that transfer goes back about 10 plus years. It said if it was not used by the county, it would be transferred back. I'm not sure how it wants it. But I think it would be proper for us to check that out, make sure before y'all take action to transfer to the community college.
So I will check on that.
You're
What are they
asking,
gonna do out there? We said on the park?
No.
Did you read this
actually?
They'll make it.
It's actually in pretty good shape. I don't think it has 20,000 miles on it.
so you're suggesting we postpone this?
Yeah, I think it would be, I didn't realize that there were any provisions in that. Normally, we don't have any provisions on vehicles that the county purchase, but this was a transfer from municipality to the county. May have had that caveat in it, and we haven't had a chance to look at that transfer agreement. I think just to be prudent, it'd be good for us to check that, have the attorney check to make sure, and then check with House to make sure they have no problem with the all dominate that for community college.
So again, it's fair. I'd like to get their request.
There's no objection to table that. The next item, next two items, Lori, you had grant project ordinance. I think that was the money that was coming in for redoing the wall changes.
That's correct, yes. John Bay in the Housing Department has received notice, they're going to receive $75,000 from the Housing Finance Agency. It's an 18-month grant, so anytime you receive grant funds from an agency like that, then it's more than 1 year. You have to adopt a special grant policy.
Just so you know, we've got 2 weeks of wall changers. This year we've had 1 week. In the past, it's 2 weeks, and it's
A lot of them are coming.
next week. And actually, trying to say my church is hosting them for their worship services they do each time. But this is money that's going to provide the materials that are going to be used to work. And I believe there's about 250, 300 kids that are coming this first time. It's next week, right? Next week, fall. It's the next 2 weeks, and then there's a week in July.
The 21st is on, is that Saturday? I don't know. The week after next, whatever
Week after.
So, and the difference is this time, World Changers, for 2 weeks, is they're gonna get a lot of younger. And they've changed the rules somewhat, so any adults out there wants to contribute, they can get on the roof. What it is now, if you're 18 or younger, you cannot even get on the job for it's a roof job. Before, it would be on the roof, so, the work is here in Macon County. We'll have a lot of these younger folks with the help of donations from a lot of churches, Holly Frank being one. They've plenty of painting projects, and there's plenty to do in Macon County. But these are good folks to come, but there are some major jobs to do too. So I'm sure that they're interested. You can reach out to Gary Holly. Gary's really the spearhead behind this for me.
His son-in-law, Brandon Reed.
Brandon is
county's.
It's a good program.
$75,000 house finalization one material for that. Right. You recall that's the grant that the county had originally approved, and we pre-submitted and they approved it.
And just for the record, that's just
before any of that money can be expended, that's in the budget, before it can be in the budget.
Right. That's just a pass-through, comes through the county, the county's just one of the handlers. Do we have a motion to approve that budget amendment? Motion. Second. Motion by Hagan, second by Bill. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. The second one, we have to have adopt an ordinance. This is on the Highlands project that we've already passed, and actually that work is well underway.
It sure is.
And Lori, you can explain exactly what that is. You have that amendment in front of you.
Yes, it's formality. We borrow funds for, projects of this size. You have to adopt a capital project ordinance. It's not part of your regular budget. It's a special capital project fund that we've established. So this is just, showing where the source of funds will come from and then how we're going to spend those funds. And it allows for some contingency on the construction. And of course, we don't need it, we won't touch it. I think it's wise to go in with a little bit of contingency for the matter.
That's budget amendment 200.
Well, it's the capital project ordinance you're adopting, right?
Well,
But yeah, the
but
budget
that's
amendment relates to
it
it.
goes with it.
Yes.
It shows exactly.
Right.
Any questions for clarification or giving a motion to approve that ordinance? Okay. Commissioner Tate from Highland. Second. The motion and a second. Any discussion on that ordinance? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes.
Chairman, just a quick clarification. The original project of Highlands was $1.9 million. We had a couple of issues that we had to deal with. One of them was the asbestos, which was not originally known as part of our project. It's a $30,000 expense that we had to cover. We talked about the cost of the one, and then the actual price, contract price came in a little bit higher than we anticipated. So that's why you see a total price order of $1,588,340, versus $88,240 more than what we anticipated. But I guess the good news is that the contingency amount of water is able to go back and make some more accounts. So we got some money in, school projects, and blend that together and put that in this project. That was the contingency, and like you said, it's not necessarily going to be spent unless it has to be spent or not spent on this project.
I'm talking today about doing that. I think it gives us about a 5%. And like I say, hopefully we'll need that. Thank you, Lord. The consent agenda would be the minutes of our May 14th, 2028, 30th, June 4th meetings. I think you guys received those in advance. Then the budget amendments, and you have those in front of you, 196 through 200 are in there. That includes the budget amendments for the two projects that we just approved. World Changers is number 199, I think. Is that right? Yep. And then the Highlands project is budget amendment number 200. So is there any item you would like to, fee, let's see, changes to fee schedule? And monthly admin question. All that's part of the consent agenda. Would any board member like to remove any item from that to discuss individually?
How do you agree with what the department agenda?
Yes.
Councilman?
All right, if not, a motion to approve the consent agenda will be in order. So, the motion, we have a second. Second. Second by Commissioner Higdon. We have any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, or can I just make a quick comment?
Sure.
In relation to one of the budget amendments, I'm going to introduce you all to Katie Stanley. If you wouldn't mind standing, Katie. She is going to be interning in the finance department this summer, and that was one of the budget amendments that you approved. State Employees Credit Union in partnership with the Rural Center provided $5,000 to Macon County, $2,500 of which will be paid to Katie for a stipend that she's going to put in 160 hours this summer. And then the other $2,500 is to the county. She and I had to go to Raleigh last week, so that covers our expenses. And then in August, they're going to have like a closing banquet, so we cover our travel to go to that as well. So we're just really excited to have Katie. She actually started working yesterday, and she's been great so far.
You worked 2 shifts, right, Katie?
She sure did. She worked.
Katie, who's your father?
Tony, Stanley.
Katie's
He's good.
doing good? Katie, done it again, didn't you? Welcome.
Thank you.
We're glad you're here.
We're glad you're here.
Let me say this with all prejudice, you're stepped in one of the best finance departments in the state of North Carolina. This lady does a super job and knows what's going on, so keep your eyes and ears up.
I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Rightly so. Well,
Welcome. Glad you're here.
Tell your father hello from all of us too.
I
We all know him.
Gentlemen, we have a couple of appointments to do tonight before we leave. We are discussing the planning board. The airport authority, as you saw, had 2 appointments. That coming from the authority, their group is recommended, I believe Mr. Miles Gregory and Keith Hickok to the other one, rotated off, and that was their recommendation, but we need to make that one. So, any discussion about that, or Mr. Tate, you're the liaison to that?
That was their recommendation. I'm not sure if you all have to fill me in on the process. But those gentlemen can tell you from experience, but probably harder to get 2 people on the board, keeping the other board going. Pete's out there daily with me or everything else. Just keeping it trusting, but I'm not sure if people put an application.
Just to follow up on that, the way that authority was set up, the legislature was set up, specifically says the airport authority has to make a recommendation on those positions to the Board of County Commissioners, and then you all actually do the appointment, but it's only the appointments that have been recommended by the airport authority, so it doesn't go through the regular county process.
Does that motion to approve? Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve those 2 seats on the airport authority. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. We have Southwestern Community College. They have 1 seat. They have recommended to us, I think that came from their board, they recommended that we appoint Mr. Pete Penland.
Recommended appointment. You actually recommend the appointment to Jackson County Board of Commissioners. Actually, they appoint will work for county community college system.
So that was the letter that I received, was that recommendation. Is there any discussion about that? Or do we have a motion to approve Mr. Green in the Southwest?
Motion approved.
A motion second by Commissioner Havens. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. I have not had a request for a closed session, Mr. Attorney, unless there's something I don't know about.
Where of me?
And we agreed early on, we're going to be Thursday, June 13th at 7 p.m. And let me publicly thank you guys for the 7 p.m. That will help me out a lot. We'll be right here. And gentlemen, if you would, be prepared to discuss the budget, what changes you want to make, additions, deletions, corrections, and several items have been presented to the public department heads also. We need to give county managers some direction on that, and also on the fire departments. We need to discuss how we want to proceed with that. And then we'll plan to meet the following Monday, and hopefully at that point we'll, at least we'll anticipate we'll take a vote on that. With that said, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Recess.
Southwest Main Street, 7:30.
Motion to recess. I stand corrected. Do we have a second? Commissioner Hayes. And all in favor of recess, say aye. Aye. Thank you. Good job.